Villa Matilde. We, co-brand and Empire, are kicking it off this week. So he just landed for the first time working along with us and presenting these wines. We're very excited because it's a niche, it's something special. We're very excited to have autochthonous varietals, from an amazing region with a great history. At lunchtime, we had a few lunches this week, and we had a great time, breaking bread with him and talking about, and hearing him the stories about Campania, his family, Falerno. You will love it. So take advantage of and ask him as many questions as you want. But now we're just going to focus on tasting the wines, and Salvatore will tell us a little bit about his region, his family, and then taste the wines and go to have lunch. Thank you, Salvatore.
Thank you for your attention, for your time to Villa Matilde, to my family, and to my wines. So just a few words. I want to try to describe you what is Campania, what is Villa Matilde, what is the story of my family and also my wine. Campania, is a region in the south of Italy. We are the region of Naples, of Pompeii or Capri. And we own and we produce our wine in 3 different areas of Campania region. We have to say that Villa Matilde is an azienda agricola. Azienda agricola means that we produce all the grapes from our own vineyards, and we use in our wine just the grapes that we produce in our vineyard. That is very important to understand the goal that we have for the quality and the harmony of our wine. Campania is the cradle of many different symbols of Italian food, pizza for example, or spaghetti, but is also the cradle of many different and historical wine. The story of my family, the story of Villa Matilde, is strictly connected with one of this, the Falerno. Falerno was the favorite wine of ancient Romans from 2 millennium ago. Was the favorite wine of Julius Caesar, Marshall, Horace, and many others during the last 2,000 years. Was considered also the wine, a legendary wine, the most expensive, most important wine during Roman Imperial age. The price at the time of Falerno wine, both white and red, was very high. I want to say you an epigram of the poet Marshall, in which he writes that if you want to have a glass of white or of good wine, you have to pay 1 sestertium. If you want to drink a good, very good wine, you have to pay 2 sestertium. But if you want to have just a sip of the legendary magic Falerno, you have to pay 4 sestertium. So you can have an idea what was this type of wine during Roman Imperial age. Was fermented, the grapes was picked in the fields around the died volcano of Rocca Monfina. The must fermented in clay amphoras and was aged in that clay amphoras from 15, 20 up to 100 years. So the amphoras don't was stored like today in the cellar underground, but in the large room just under the roof of the ancient Roman farm. That room was called fumarium. Fumarium is a Latin word that means smoky room, because in the fumarium arrive all the smoke produced in the fireplace of the villa. So you can imagine a wine aged for 100 years, smoked for 100 years, with a lot of difference in climate. Very cold in winter time, very hot was this fumarium. in summertime. So the evolution of this wine was totally different in the direction and the evolution that can have a modern wine. So you can understand why the Romans used to drink this type of wine blended with water, very often with the sea water, had with honey, spice, in many different recipes. So of course the wine that we have in this bottle in your glass today is not exactly the same, but it's very important that this wine has the root in 2000 years of tradition in the same terroir in which the Romans used to produce the wine, and made with the same indigenous grape varieties used since Roman Imperial age for Falernum. After 2 millennium, in the end of 19th century, the Phylloxera destroyed 98% of the vineyards in the area of Falerno. And since that time, up to the 60s, Falerno totally disappeared from the market. My father, when he was young, was a lawyer, and when he was young, was also an assistant professor, assistant teacher in the Neapolitan University in Roman law. And during his study on the ancient book, very often he met some description of the ancient and magic Falerno. So he had the idea, but not just for product, but for love, for our region, for passion in the tradition and of wine of Campania region. He had the idea to try to resuscitate this type of wine, to recreate the vineyard in the same terroir and to plant new vines, but was a very hard job. At the first time we prepared an ampelographic schedule of the characteristic of the grapes used since Roman's time, and for many years, every weekend, he invested his time walking around the hills of the ancient age of Falerno to find few vines survived at the destruction of Phylloxera. He was lucky. After many years, he founded 15 vines of red grape varieties, just 5 of white grape varieties. Starting from that 5 and 15 vines, he started a multiplication program of the vine, and finally in 1963 he planted the first vineyards of Falerno of the new era. Falerno is not a grape variety, is a geographic area like Chianti or like Bordeaux, and gave the name of the wine the name of this area. So we can have in the same terroir a white Falerno and red Falerno, made of course with different grape variety. The white Falerno is made with uva falerna, Falerna grape. Falerna is the local name of a special biotype of the family of Falangine. The red Falerno is a blend with Aglianico, about 80%, and Piedirosso, 20%. The style of vinification during Roman time was a little bit interesting. I said you before that Falerno was a legend in the history of wine in our region and the Roman Imperial age. It was very expensive, and it was very important that the characteristic of this type of wine was every year of high level, at the top of the quality. So the rules of production of this type of wine was written in an holy rituals. Holy because if something is holy, you cannot change that type of rules. Everybody knows that in the ancient time the grapes was crushed and the mass obtained pressing the grapes with the foot. jumping on the grapes and crushing the grapes, the bunches, by foot. Just for Falerno, the slaves don't jump on the grapes, but they dance on the grapes. The grapes was stored, was appoggiate al massimo, how you can say, sono state messe in una vasca cavata nella pietra. Please, sorry, he translate for me.
No, that's right. The grapes, they were laid out on a stone.
On a tank carved
A
in
tank
stone.
made of stone, yes.
In this tank, the slaves goes on and dance at the rhythm of an holy music. Every hear the same music. You can imagine that if the slaves dance at the same rhythm every year. So he press the grapes always with the same number of pressure in 1 meter in the time. So the characteristic of the mast that we can obtain with this very simple and poetic system was always the same, to guarantee the taste and the flavor of